Dear students, we are studying now the behaviorist theories or connectionist theories. There are four important theories in behaviorism, that is Thorndike's theory of connectionism, Pavlov's theory of classical conditioning, Skinner's theory of operant conditioning, and Hull's reinforcement theory. Out of these four theories, we studied one, that is Thorndike's theory of connectionism. Today we are going to study about the theory of classical conditioning. First of all, we can study who is the proponent or exponent of this theory, that is Ivan Pavlov. His theory is also known in other three names, that is conditioned response theory, respondent conditioning, Pavlovian conditioning. Why it is known as classical conditioning? It is classical. It's the first one, or it is the most classical theory in conditioning. Now we can study what is conditioning. Conditioning, before going to conditioning, I like to explain the experiment he conducted. He conducted an experiment on dog, on a deprived dog, or a hungry dog. A food is very important for dog. This dog that's kept in a cage, it was hungry, and so when seeing a food, naturally the response will happen. What's the response? That is salivation. Food is the stimulus, salivation is the response. We know that when seeing the food, we will have a natural salivation. Food is stimulus, salivation is response. Now you studied what is stimulus, what is response. Food, one example for, the best example for stimulus. Salivation is the best example for response. I'm going to explain you further about the experiment, that is the dog is deprived or hungry one that kept in the cage, and when seeing the food outside the cage, the dog will that run this way or that way, and as a result um, salivation occurred last. This salivation collected in a glass tube. Beautifully it is connected in a or collected in a glass tube. For what purpose it is collecting? It is collecting to measure the content. That's how much it is, to measure the content. At the sight of the food, dog salivated. Immediately before giving food, a bell rang. Not giving food, a bell rang. Repeated it for 7 days. Not giving food, but first of all, a bell. After that bell, they gave the food. It repeated to 7 days. What may happen? After 7 days, he rang the bell only, not gave the food. The salivation is or not? Yes, salivation is there. Even the absence of the food also, the salivation is there. Same amount saliva, they counted it, they measured it, and for that purpose they collected in a glass tube the salivation. What happened? Food is a stimulus, a natural stimulus. Salivation is a response, a natural response. Food is a unconditioned stimulus. Any need of conditioning there? No. Salivation is an unconditioned response. Any condition is needed there? No. That is why salivation is an unconditioned response. These two things are also known natural stimulus and natural response. But after conditioning, then you may have one doubt, what is conditioning? Conditioning means modification of a natural response. Food is a natural stimulus, salivation is a natural response. But this salivation, the natural response, has modified here. How it is modified? Not giving the direct stimulus, direct natural stimulus food, but after giving the bell, the food given to that dog. You got it? Some modification happened, not the real one. And that's why it is called conditioning. So here, before conditioning, food, what is food? Unconditioned stimulus. Salivation, what is salivation? Unconditioned response. Unconditioned food created unconditioned response, that is saliva, before conditioning. In that situation, bell is a neutral stimulus. Why it is called neutral stimulus? It is neutral. That means it is artificial. By hearing the bell, no differences or no responses happened in the dog. As a result, no salivation also. Next, conditioning process. What is the conditioning process here? They gave food with the bell. First bell, then food. That is conditioning. Bell is neutral stimulus. That is artificial stimulus. Food is natural stimulus or unconditioned stimulus. By connecting the neutral stimulus bell and unconditioned stimulus food, salivation occurred. Salivation is unconditioned response, no doubt. Then after conditioning, what happened? No connection or no pairing is done there. Only bell is there, no food is there. Only bell. By hearing the sound of the bell itself, salivation happened. That means bell is conditioned stimulus. The stimulus after conditioning is called conditioned stimulus. Salivation is conditioned response. A response after conditioning is called conditioned response. You may got some ideas about what is conditioning, classical conditioning. Then I will give you some ideas about what principle is behind this theory. This theory is based on a great principle, that is principle of stimulus response. Because this theory formed on the basis of stimulus and response, and it is called an SR theory. What is SR theory? Stimulus response theory. Here association is doing, substitution is doing, and so principle of association and substitution is behind this theory. And at last I will come to what is classical conditioning. Somebody asked you about what is classical conditioning. Then you answer that classical conditioning is a form of learning in which two stimuli are presented together. Two stimuli are presented together here. What's the example? Food, one stimuli, bell, another stimuli. Two stimuli are presented together and the response originally elicited by one of them. Yeah, got? Have you got? This is classical conditioning. Thank you all.